Hello everyone. I have a job to do here, and that's change to Kadee couplers on a few of my cars. And I thought I'd do a video showing how I do that. A lot of times it's real simple, but there are some problems you might come up against. So what I have here are 3 Athearn cars, and this is an Athearn, this is a Roundhouse. This is an Athearn ready to roll, and this car here is an Athearn Genesis. So I'm going to change on all 3 of these because they're just a little bit different. Now this 4th car is an Atlas car, so I want to show you how I do that as well. Alright, so the first thing to do on the two of the Athearn cars, you'll notice that the coupler boxes are extended way out from the trucks, so I don't have to worry about removing the trucks. But on this one, the trucks would get in the way, so I just remove them first. It's a lot easier to do this. Alright, and it's just a Phillips head screw normally. It could be a flathead, but this one's a Phillips head. Just unscrewed it and pulled them out. So let's do the Roundhouse one first. Okay, so I am going to unscrew the coupler box cover, pull it out, and you'll notice this is a coupler that usually comes on these cars, but they're plastic, and over time they're going to lose their resiliency, or the plastic will break that makes the knuckle spring. So we'll just remove that and put it over there. So this one's really easy. I'm using Kadee number 158, and I've got a pack here that I bought, and that's what I'll be using to replace. So I just take the coupler box cover, and I'm going to put the screw back in it, and then put the coupler on. Once again, I want to make sure not to get the whiskers caught in the coupler box cover when I screw it down. So that does happen from time to time. Now I've screwed it down, and you'll notice that it's very tight. Okay, so when I go back and forth, it won't spring. So there's an easy way to take care of that. So what I'm going to do is take the coupler cover back off, and I'm going to take a flat file, and on the top of my coupler I'm going to file off some of the thickness, and I don't have to do very much. Just make sure you don't mess up the whiskers when you're doing this. So you can see as I file it off, I'm going to see some of the bare metal left on top of the coupler because they've been blackened. Okay, so if I just file that a little bit, and it doesn't take much filing. I'm going to try it now. I'm going to put the coupler back in and put the lid back on. And screw it back in. And it's still too tight. That's a problem sometimes. So I'm going to do a couple things now, so this doesn't happen. One is, you'll notice on the bottom of these coupler lids sometimes there's some excess plastic. So I'm just going to take the file and get rid of that. Doesn't hurt to file these lids a little bit. Just make sure you file them evenly. And I'm going to file especially on the front a little bit, and go a little bit heavier on the front. And let's try it now. Screw that back on. Let's see what happens. There you go. So you notice now that the coupler springs freely in the coupler box. If the coupler doesn't move freely, you're going to cause derailments. So make sure that that moves freely. And what we're going to do is do the other end just exactly the same. We know we have to file the top of the coupler plus the box lid, the coupler box lid as well. So I'm going to do that and be right back with the second car. The second car we're going to do is the Athearn Ready to Roll, and this one's going to be a little bit different because it's a tank car. So instead of the coupler boxes having the lid screwed onto them, they are actually held in place with the trucks and the screw in the middle. So we're going to have to remove the trucks. And usually on these, the screw's a little bit longer than normal. So there we go. Be careful to hold on to your tools. And we have this one screw in the middle. And this will remove the frame from under the car. So you'll notice now that I can pull the entire frame off and the couplers just fall out. So what I'm going to do is place the coupler on each end, and I'll kind of put the frame back to hold it, just so it doesn't fall out. Once again, make sure you don't get the springs caught in the frame as you put it back on, because it's easy to do. Now I'm going to test it. I'm just going to push down on the coupler box and make sure it's loose before I tighten everything back up. I'm going to put the middle screw back in first. And you want the middle screw in good and snug. But make sure that you don't over tighten these, because they are just plastic. And I want to make sure that the coupler box is fully seated before I put the truck in. There's the first one. Make sure this coupler box is fully seated. And when I did that, I found out that it had pinched the springs. I'm just going to let it up, and there we go. Now, since you've had to take both trucks off, this is a good time to make sure the trucks are adjusted properly. You don't want them, you don't want the screws so tight that the truck has resistance in turning. However, one truck you want to turn without being able to rock, and the other truck you want to give it a little more play so that it rocks just a little bit. Okay? So just to get you in close, notice this truck turns, but there's no rocking to it. And this truck turns freely as well, but it does rock a little bit. And that's how you want to adjust your trucks on your cars. Okay, so there's the second one completed. And we'll put it on the track over here. Now I'm going to move on to my third Athearn. This is the Athearn Genesis car. And since the coupler box is not under the truck, so I don't have to worry about removing the trucks on this one, I'm just going to pull this off. Now, I know I have already done this with the couplers, so I'm going to show you why I pulled this one off. Okay? I'm going to put the coupler cover back on. Tighten it. And this is one of those where the coupler is stiff. Notice that when I move it, it doesn't spring back like it's supposed to. So I'm going to undo the box. And I'm going to come in here and once again, I'm going to file down the top of the coupler. Said it doesn't take very long to get this filed down. Just make sure it's filed evenly all around the top. Now let's put it back on and see if it works. And I think that's all it's going to take on this one. Once again, make sure the springs are inside the coupler box. Okay, so this one's still a little tight. I thought maybe we could get away without sanding the lid of the coupler box, but I don't think we will. So I'm just going to come in here and do a little filing. And you don't want to file away too much because you don't want the coupler to droop inside of the coupler box. So remember that. Filing also makes this a smoother surface, so it glides better. And there we go. Notice that now it springs freely back and forth. And that's what we're looking for. Now I'm going to do the other side and then be right back with the fourth car. So the last car we're going to do, of course, is the Atlas car. I already did one end, so I'm going to just unloosen the screw once again. The coupler box is beyond the truck, so I don't have to worry about removing the trucks. Now with some of the older Atlases, you have to be careful here. This one's not like this, but the post that's in the coupler box, if you can see that, you can see that post in the center. Some of them are a little bit larger, and if you run into one that's larger than normal, and I've had one like that, all you need to do is take a round file and file out the center of the coupler shank, and that'll take care of that. These, of course, weren't like that. These went in real easily. I'll set the coupler there, put the coupler box on top, and go ahead and put the screw in. Once again, I'll always caution you to make sure that the coupler whiskers are not caught in between the coupler box and the lid. And you can see that moves freely. Alright, one more thing to do and then we'll wrap this up. So the last thing you want to do is check the coupler height. And so I'm going to put my coupler height gauge on the track. And there it is, and you can see that's perfect. So if it wasn't, you can use the Kadee washers under the truck to take care of that. Alright, hope you got something out of this and hope it benefited you in some way. Have a good evening.